folks, welcome to another episode of Financial QB TV, and I'm Richard Reyes, certified financial planner and Orlando's own financial quarterback. And as rates are creeping up, one of the things that I'm asked is, Richard, should I refinance? Now, mind you, understand that rates are creeping up, but they're still very, very low. And I know you can probably Google 100 different ways of whether you should refinance, but I don't personally think that there's any real rule of thumb. There's a couple of things to consider is, number one, how much am I going to save? How much is it going to cost? What's my break-even point? And how long am I going to stay in the house? And that answer is going to be different for everybody. Some people can probably answer that in a very detailed manner. Others can't. And some people might think that $50 a month and going through the process of refinancing, which is rather tedious, and depending who you go with, more tedious than other. But from the standpoint of refinancing, some people might think that a $50 savings a month, which is $600 a year, is a lot of savings, and others might not want to go through it. So there's a variety of different ways to consider it, but one of the things that you have to know is that it is not free. Refinancing comes at a cost, not only of time, but as money. Now, if your lender tells you that it's free, they're lying, because it's never free. One of the things they're doing when they tell you that it's free is that they're increasing the interest rate so that they can pay for all the fees that are incurred during the refinancing. So it is never free. The other thing to consider is, how long are you going to stay in your house? Some people might have a pretty concrete answer that some people don't. And of course, life happens sometimes, so it's sometimes hard to answer that question 100%. But if you're only going to stay in the house for a couple of years, it might not be worth it to refinance. The other thing to consider is when you're going into retirement. I am not a person that feels that carrying a mortgage into retirement is that big of a deal. If it's part of the math and it's part of your standard of living, then that's it. But however, rest assured though, that if you think that you're going to have a tough time, you might be able, when your working years, to be paying off that mortgage in okay. But if you think that going into retirement, that carrying that mortgage is going to be an issue, whether it's meaning that monthly payment is going to take a big chunk out of your standard of living because now you're on a fixed income, then you better consider having that mortgage and how long you want that mortgage, especially how long you want it extending into your retirement. One thing that is important is say bye-bye to that PMI. Real estate has increased somewhat over the last few years. So in many cases, many of you might be over the 20% equity threshold, so you don't have to be carrying PMI anymore. With that being said, I hope I answered some of your questions. Give me a call if you need help evaluating your situation. Give me a call if you need help with who can help you with the refinancing. We know some really, really good folks. With that being said, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time on Financial QB TV.